Hi, I'm Matt from HockeyReviews.ca, and this is a quick snapshots video of the differences between the Supreme 2S Pro and the Vapor 1X pads. This should show the differences between the two and which ones you might want to get. So first of all, just to show the differences in how stiff they are, both are fairly stiff pads compared to other brands on the market. The Supreme is one of the stiffest there is. Not a lot of boot flex and not a lot of top bend. You really got to force that down to do that. Where the Vapor has a bit softer boot and the top doesn't flex much, but it does flex a little bit more, and it does have that extra break in the top that helps it flex, where the Supreme does not. The Supreme it's all one piece all the way through, so it does make it harder to push down. So the big one of the big differences between these two pads is the rebounds. The Supreme is very hard when the Vapor is a bit more cushioned. I still think the Vapor gives out pretty hard rebounds, but not as hard as the Supreme. The Supreme is kind of on a different level for that itself. Another thing is the Vapor has these kind of indents in this different material type throughout it. I think it does a decent job of kind of hiding the inner cords that hold the pad together. And you can see them on the back. You can actually see these dents on the front of the Supreme already, and the Supreme hasn't been used very long. When these are kind of harder to find on the Vapor, like you can tell one's right there, but you really have to look for it, and these kind of do a good job of that. But they also add a bit of cushioning to soften those rebounds as well. I think, so that's basically the gist of this. The boots are pretty similar in terms of the brake, but because this one's a lot firmer, it doesn't play as agile as this one does. It kind of stays in where it is. Now on the inside of the pad, we can see the knee blocks on the Vapor are angled right here, where the Supreme is squared and takes up as much legal space as possible. Two different kind of ideas. One is where when you close your legs, the super square of the Supreme gets in the way and kind of hits each other. This gives you a little bit more room in that regard. The rest of the sliding surface is pretty much the same on both pads. You got the same piece right here. Fairly similar right here, a little bit bigger on the Vapor. It seems to go down a little bit further. And then you do have kind of the bend guards here, which are bigger on the Supreme. And remember, this is the demo set. When I compared the Vapor compared to the retail Vapor set, this was a bit bigger as well. So it's about the same size as this. Again, you kind of have that kind of indent right here on the sliding surface of the Supreme and the Vapor. Again, that's basically the same right there. And I always consider these pads, I consider the Vapors to be a 1S.5 because they're very similar to the Supremes, but there's slight differences. That difference was kind of covering up this binding right here. And that was one of the big changes I was kind of happy about, and they kind of tweaked the materials to make it more durable. I feel like this Supreme is really the finished version of the 1S. And what I mean by that is you still have this exposed binding here and here, but you do cover it up right here, and it's better material. I always felt like the Supreme 1S was not really finished, and this was kind of getting closer to that. Most other pads, if not all other pads right now, or pad companies, cover all this nylon. And you can see it wearing on the Vapors on both spots right here, and it's going to be the primary wear point of these pads because they're nylon and it's going to be sliding on the ice. For sliding between these two pads, they're both very, very similar. They both, again, have that hard landing zone, so it's both hard like that. The one thing is, because this boot is stiffer than on the Vapor, it does feel like it's a stiffer pad, obviously. So when you're pushing off, you don't really get that boot flex at all. So some people like that, some people find it a bit of a hindrance. I find the Vapor to be a little bit easier to push off with than this one just because it does flex with your motion of your foot. Okay, so the other one thing I want to mention on the top of the pad too is, hopefully this shows up, these Vapors were very tight all the way through. The retail versions I had was pretty loose here. You can kind of see the material bunching up on Supreme and bunching up right here, same as where the old Vapor was. I kind of feel like that's a little bit of a quality control issue. I feel that should be tighter, like on these Vapors. But again, that's just what it is. I will quickly look on the outside of the pad. So the Vapor is a bit thicker here, but again, these are XLs and these are larges. I believe it's thicker right here on the Supreme than it is the Vapor to give a bit more stiffness and rigidity. Something that, honestly, Bauer is pretty good at how stiff these pads are in that regard. Again, here, huge wear point right here, covering all that binding or bending area. Much smaller on the Vapor. It is bigger on the retail Vapors and not these demos, but not as big as this. That's a nice change right there. Now, moving on to the back of the pad and strapping. Now, strapping is all personal preference, but I'm going to talk about it here, just what I like and what I don't like. The nice thing about the Supremes is they do have this outside knee wing right here that is removable and changeable, so you can move it on a little bit tighter, or you can take it off totally. This Vapor is in there firm. I do like the material the Vapor is made of better. The Aerolite I think is better than the Armor here. Again, just personal preference, but I'm pretty sure this one's gonna weigh less. Now I couldn't take this off and always had to strap right here for both my pads, both the Vapor and the Supreme, because I found my knee would pop out of it when I was trying to like desperation save or slide cross crease really fast. Anytime I put it below, my knee would end up kind of out here and falling out of the pad. So I really had to put it right in there just to keep it in there tight. One thing that kind of actually really bothers me about the 2S's, and again, it's nitpicking, but on the Vapors, they have this nice piece right here. Let's get this out of the way. This nice piece right here, so you can tie a string through it, or skate lace, or you can use the Bauer pad strap carries, and you can carry these pads pretty easily. There's nothing like that on Supreme. There's no bootstrap either, so you can't really carry it by the bootstrap. Well, I mean, there is an option of a bootstrap, but they don't come with it out on stock, so it's kind of annoying in that sense. I had to put it through the lace right here, which I would rather wish they had that piece right there. And one of the other big differences, at least that I noticed right away, the landing gear on the Vapor is much softer than on the Supreme. Now, if you touch the two, they don't feel like a whole lot different. In fact, the material feels pretty similar. It's a little plusher on the Supreme. It's called Quattro. Same on the gloves. It's labeled right there. The Supreme is the first pad when I was wearing the Vapor knee pads that during one game, my knees would hurt. So the very first, I played back to back with these, but even the first game, my knees were hurting every time I go down on this because this is so hard. Whereas the Vapor has a little bit more plushness to it. I mean, a little softer and just made it a nicer place to land. It takes 2 games usually for all my other pads to get uncomfortable. With the Supremes, it was that first game where that hurt. Now some people like that because it would drive your knee down harder. It's personal preference. I like the little bit of softness, but it wouldn't be a make or break for me. The other thing is on the inside of the Vapors, as you can see, it does have a little bit of cushioning right on the knee where it's hard on the front of the Supremes. Going all the way down the leg channel, you can see you still have that Quattro material and a little bit of padding. On the Vapor, there is a bit of padding on the Supreme. It isn't that Quattro material. It's a sublimated design that feels pretty close to the material on the outside. A little bit thicker almost. So I took the straps off of the Vapors, which are right here. Just go through, just so you can see easier, and because I was actually using these pads without the straps. Both of these pads have a pretty similar leg channel size. So as you can see right here, both of these end up pretty close to the same spot. Now on the inside, this one is a little bit closer to the pad because there's a bit of a thicker wing on the Vapor right here. But regardless, they are very close in the same size as leg channel. I think that's a missed opportunity for Bauer because if you watch some of their pros, some of their pros are in 2S pads or 1S pads with Vapor like leg channel, and other ones are like Vasilevsky has this piece moved all the way to the outside. I feel that would really help with driving the pads down because they don't seal the ice as well as other manufacturers do, and I feel how this leg channel is made is one of those reasons. One, there's no thick pillow in here to push it down. Another is because of how tight the leg channel plays. So I was trying this pad out with just this as a single strap below, and it does help seal the ice a bit better, but you really lose that connection feel of the pad and the leg. Onto the actual strapping of the Supreme, there's a ton of straps here, and honestly I think it's one of the worst designs there is in terms of strapping. Now the reason I'm saying that, this is a super annoying strap. I guess it's to fit tighter to your leg, kind of like, I feel like almost if this was on there with just this, it wouldn't be a bad idea. So this isn't a problem, it's very comfortable and very soft, but this changes because it's on like this guide here and it's not really sewn in or attached, so you have to attach that one here and then go over here. My problem is, so you undo this and then you undo that, so you have to hold it when you're getting it on, and it's very annoying. I never really found a benefit to it when actually wearing it, and didn't really feel like it did much. My other problem is you have another strap here, which goes there, and then this one that goes there. I feel this is totally unnecessary, so you can take that one off right away. And again, this one kind of replicates that one, but I don't see a need for all these straps in all the ways that they are. I kind of feel like they're going overboard here, and you could really cut them down. They shouldn't, and I think Bauer should kind of re-look at how they're doing strapping here. Maybe just have that professor strap, which a lot of companies are doing now, and that would kind of solve the need for this. You could get rid of this, get rid of that one, and just keep that one, and that's it. So I feel like Bauer, again, tries to go too much through things. And once again, I mentioned this earlier about the Aerolite compared to this Supreme like armor. So the Aerolite is much thinner. Well, it's much more mobile, as you can see. It moves better, it's lighter, but it's still pretty padded. And this is much more padded, but it's much harder and it feels heavier. I feel like this material isn't needed here, and Bauer could have just used this Aerolite here, which again would have cut down weight and kind of shared materials back and forth between the two pads. And something I think Bauer is again kind of afraid of doing, and they shouldn't be. Moving on to the boot, the Supreme has this nice basically identical in that way. The Vapor had these like grips on the inside and outside that would come off. So a bunch of these have been totally torn off. Like that one, just the leftover glue for the first 4. Pretty useless, worn out really quick, not really needed to be there. Supreme, got rid of it. Both have the same strap right here for the boot. I'm not going to take it out, but it's the same boot strap. And you would attach it right through this link right there. And again, same as that sign right there. So pretty similar in terms of the boot themselves. So that's about it for the back side. And that's it for the pad itself. I think either way, they're very, I find these almost the player's type of pad. And what I mean by that is in golf, I mention this analogy a lot. In golf, there's player's irons, there's game improvement irons. I feel like these pads would be better suited to goalies who are very, very good, who don't need that little bit of seal, who want the lightest weight pad, a ton of rebound, which both of these will give you a lot of rebound, but will also slide very well. Again, both these slide very well, but they don't need that extra seal, and they're so athletic that they don't need the pad to help them at all. I'm not quite at that. I find my brines seal better than these, and I have a bit more success because of that. With that said, I would not hesitate to recommend these pads. I do worry about durability, but it is what it is. And I feel like these are kind of at the upper tier for more elite players than they are on the lower level of players. So that's about it for this comparison. Hopefully it was informative and it would help you make a decision between the two. If you have any questions, leave them in the description below. Again, I hate to say this, leave them in the comments below. Again, I hate to say this, but follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and subscribe to me on YouTube. All those links are in the description, and you can see a full write-up with picture comparisons on my website, hockeyreviews.ca. That will be linked at the end of the video as well. Thank you, and take it easy.